In the heart of Jerusalem stands one of the holiest sites in Christianity, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is believed that Jesus was buried here after his crucifixion. For thousands of years, believers have been coming here, but unknown to many, there are secrets hidden beneath it that have only now been revealed. Using modern science and excavation, experts have discovered evidence that connects history and faith. This means that the stories in the Bible that have long been believed have physical evidence such as tombs, ancient gardens, and rock-cut graves. Therefore, everything written in the Bible is true. And the big question now is, what else did they find under the tomb of Christ? That's what we are going to find out. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. This is a big help for us content creators. Thank you. Now let's begin. Unsealing the sacred inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the old city of Jerusalem, there lies one of the holiest places for billions of Christians around the world. Here, many have long believed that the body of Jesus was buried after he was crucified. But for many centuries, the actual tomb has been covered by thick marble. And for scientists, its secrets seem to have been lost to history forever. But on the night of October 26, a historic unveiling began. Experts from the National Technical University of Athens led the opening of the site. As they slowly removed the marble that had been placed there since 1555, the first thing they saw were ordinary filigree decorations. Upon lifting it, they realized that what they encountered next was truly remarkable. Because at that moment they were left speechless in awe. This is the lineage of... And while there are only a few left now with Frederick Hebert, archaeologist in residence at National Geographic, I'm absolutely amazed. My knees are shaking a little bit because I wasn't expecting this. Many scholars have asked whether the tomb really remained in its original location after so many wars, renovations, and reconstructions. But now they have concrete evidence, a stone that has remained unmoved for almost 2,000 years. And that's not all. Inside the edicule, the 19th century shrine that encloses the tomb, researchers confirmed that the ancient walls of the limestone cave are still standing. For the first time after so many generations, the world once again caught a glimpse of the very holy rock believed to have supported the body of Christ. According to Professor Antonio Maropolo, the chief scientific supervisor of the restoration project, this is the holy rock that has been revered for centuries, but only now can actually be seen. The simple opening of the marble allowed a hidden treasure beneath history to be seen. And as the scientists stood in front of that stone, a question slowly emerged. If this is truly the tomb of Jesus, what does it mean for our faith in history? But what if there's another secret buried here that could shake our perspective even more? Stay tuned because an even more amazing revelation is coming up next. A tomb hidden in plain sight. Science still cannot say with 100% certainty that this discovery is truly the actual tomb of Jesus of Nazareth. But there are signs, from archaeological evidence to historical records, that show this is indeed possible. The story begins with the canonical Gospels, the first 4 books of the New Testament. Although these were written several decades after the crucifixion, the accounts are the same. Jesus was buried in a rock-cut tomb owned by a wealthy follower, Joseph of Arimathea. This actually matches the discoveries of archaeologists. Around Jerusalem, they have found more than 1,000 rock-cut tombs from that period, with long niches in the side of the rock where bodies were placed. According to Jody Magnus, an archaeologist and National Geographic scholar, this is exactly how they were buried. Wealthy Jews buried their dead during that time. Another important detail is that burials inside the city were forbidden according to Jewish law. According to the Gospels, the tomb of Jesus was outside Jerusalem, near the place of his crucifixion, Golgotha. But after just a few years, the city expanded and Golgotha and the tomb were included within the new city wall. Fast forward to the year AD 325, Roman Emperor Constantine set out to find the tomb of Christ. What was pointed out to them was a Roman temple built by Emperor Hadrian almost 200 years earlier. According to some historical records, Hadrian himself built it over the Christian holy site to erase it. But in an irony, this may have actually helped preserve the location even more. According to Eusebius, bishop of Caesarea, and the first church historian, when the Roman temple was destroyed, something unusual was found underneath it, a tomb carved out of rock. To make it more visible, the upper part of the cave was cut off, and a church was built around it to honor and preserve it as the tomb of Christ. But it didn't stay intact forever. In the year 1009, it was completely destroyed by the Fatimid Caliphate before being rebuilt in the middle of the 11th century. And centuries later, in the 20th century, extensive excavations were once again carried out inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They discovered the remains of Hadrian's Roman temple, as well as pieces of Constantine's original church. Among the findings were also an old limestone quarry and at least 6 more rock-cut tombs around the area, some of which can still be seen today. For experts, this evidence is extremely important. According to Jody Magnus, the presence of other tombs from the same period is important archaeological evidence. This shows that this place used to be a Jewish cemetery outside the walls of Jerusalem during the time of Jesus. This is also the reason why the gospel account is further supported, that Jesus was buried outside the city, very close to the place of his crucifixion, and in accordance with Jewish law at that time. For Dan Bahat, the former city archaeologist of Jerusalem, we may not be 100% certain that the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the actual tomb of Jesus. But there is no other place that can claim to have stronger evidence, and there is also no sufficient reason to deny its authenticity. Now, the original marble has once again covered the burial bed that was discovered. It may not be opened again for hundreds of years, or perhaps even longer. According to Professor Antonia Moropulo, the architectural conservation we are doing is intended to last for before it was completely sealed. Experts made sure to document every part of the stone in detail. For Martin Bedell, a well-known archaeologist who conducted a major study about the tomb, in 1999, this is very important. Every surface of the stone must be examined closely, especially for possible traces of graffiti. Why? Because in other nearby tombs, you can see crosses and inscriptions carved by early Christians as a sign of their faith. For Bedell, this is the key to why Bishop Eusebius chose this particular tomb. I don't think Eusebius was mistaken. He was an excellent scholar. So there was probably evidence there before. It just needs to be rediscovered. So even though there is still no absolute evidence, the traces left on the stone are clear. The structure and its history both suggest one conclusion. The question remains, is this truly Christ's tomb? The garden below the tomb. In 2022, a restoration project beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre suddenly became one of the most surprising archaeological finds of modern times. This church, revered as the site of Jesus' tomb, is visited by millions of people every year, has long contained thick layers of history. But this time, it wasn't just simple pieces of marble or broken relics that were discovered. While Professor Francesca Stasola's team from Sapienza University of Rome was busy preserving the structure, they didn't expect to find something that seemed to be preserved by time itself. A 2,000-year-old garden hidden and almost completely intact after 2 millennia. The discovered garden wasn't just abandoned land. There were clear oleos. Other plants native to the region during the time of Jesus, the soil-preserved seeds. Even pollen that served as tiny time capsules from the 1st century. All of these remained intact as if the garden was frozen in history until it was reopened. This was not just natural growth either. The garden had neatly divided planting beds, framed by stone walls, a sign that it was planned and made with a purpose. For what? It may not have just been a place for growing food. It's also possible that it was used as a spiritual place for meditation, prayer, or healing. But what's even more surprising is that beneath the garden, even deeper secrets were discovered. Hidden there are rock-cut tombs carved directly into the stone. Ancient tombs that are believed to be among the oldest in the area. Their presence serves as proof that the location had a sacred and special purpose long before the church was built or the marble was laid. Each layer, from the well-tended garden to the tombs, tells a single story. This is a place of reverence and holiness. The simple preservation project led to the revelation of a deeper history, one that could change our understanding of this site and its connection to the stories in the Bible. Now, the question for historians and believers is, what is the meaning of this garden? Is it possible that it is part of a larger sacred space, used for ritual and prayer, even before it was associated with Christ? The proximity of the tombs and the garden directly beneath the church is clearly not an accident. For many, this proves that this land has long been sacred and was used by people in the past with the same respect and faith that we carry today. The garden is not just a relic, it is a living memory that connects us to the people who once walked, prayed, and worked in that place thousands of years ago. If we have long thought that the site's holiness was because of the tomb, it now appears that even the land itself has been sacred since ancient times. The discovered garden is not just an additional piece of history. It changes the whole picture and pushes us to ask, what else is hidden beneath our beliefs and assumptions? Exploring John 1941's garden, the discovery of the ancient garden beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is more than just a simple archaeological find. It's like physical evidence directly connected to one of the most important parts of the story in the Bible. In John 19:41, it says, "Now there was a garden near where he was crucified." For many generations, scholars have debated whether this was just a symbol or an actual place. But after the excavation, it became clear that this was not a metaphor. It was a real garden. There was also someone named RJH who was involved after the event. Only grape seeds and pollen that were preserved in the soil here. This place is very real, a garden connected to the death and burial of Christ. The location is also important. According to John 19, verse 20, the crucifixion took place outside the city, and so did the burial. According to Hebrews 13, verse 12, it had to be done outside so that the city would remain holy. The discovery of the garden and the tombs just outside the ancient walls of Jerusalem directly matches the description in the gospel. Moreover, the type of tombs that were found were not just ordinary. According to Matthew 27, verse 60 and Mark 15, verse 46, Jesus was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, a rich man. The tombs found under the garden are rock-cut tombs, intricately sculpted and clearly made for the wealthy. This matches exactly what is stated in the gospel. These are not ordinary graves, but tombs that were given wealth and time for a prominent person. Another key point, the garden is very close to the crucifixion site. Because the Sabbath was approaching, a quick burial was necessary. So according to the Gospels, the tomb had to be in an easily accessible and nearby place. The discovered garden is at the right distance, a place that is accessible and practical for an immediate burial. So if you look at all of this, there are some strong confirmations that come out. The site outside the city aligns with John 19:20. The tomb owned by a rich man like Joseph of Arimathea matches Matthew 27, verse 60. The tomb's rock-cut design matches Mark 15:46. The immediate accessibility for a quick burial matches the urgency stated in the gospel. In addition, the garden is not just an agricultural space, but it also has olives and vineyards that have long held deep symbolism in the Bible. The olive symbolizes peace and blessing, while the grape is a sign of covenant and spiritual sustenance. Therefore, their presence is not only natural, but also spiritually significant, a physical echo of the images in the gospel. And there's another ironic part of history, Emperor Hadrian. In 1850, he built a Roman temple over the site of the crucifixion and the tomb to erase the memory of Christianity. But instead of erasing the evidence, it actually preserved the site, as if his attempt to erase history served as a time capsule that protected the garden and the tomb until the time we rediscovered it. Taken together, it's clear that the garden and tomb found beneath the church are not just an archaeological curiosity. This is direct confirmation of the gospel, from the location, the design of the tomb, to the details mentioned by John, Matthew, and Mark. In other words, what was discovered here is not just simple soil and plants. This is physical evidence of a spiritual story and a bridge that connects faith and history. 6 biblical confirmations from the garden and tombs beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The significance of the discovery of the garden and tombs beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre cannot be underestimated. Every layer of evidence found by archaeologists provides clear confirmation of what is written in the Bible. There are 6 strong pieces of evidence that support the story of the gospel. First, the location of the garden. According to John 19 verse 20, Jesus was crucified and buried outside the city. This matches exactly with the garden and tombs that were found outside the ancient walls of Jerusalem. This isn't just approximate, it matches exactly with the Bible's description. Also, the tomb designs aren't just ordinary graves. These are rock-cut tombs that were clearly made for a wealthy man. This matches exactly what is stated in Matthew 27 verse 60, where Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy follower of Jesus, gave his own tomb for him. Third, it's clear that the tombs are not natural caves, but were carved out of solid rock. This is another exact match with the gospel, because in Mark 15 verse 46, it is stated that the tomb of Jesus was cut out of the rock. Although this detail is often overlooked, it is very important, because in ancient Jerusalem, this type of tomb was a sign of wealth and high social status. Fourth is the immediate accessibility of the garden and the tomb. According to the Gospels, because the Sabbath was about to begin, Jesus had to be buried quickly. In Matthew 27 verses 57 to 60 and Mark 15 verses 42 to 47, the urgency of the burial is emphasized. Therefore, the discovery of a tomb very close to the site of the crucifixion fits exactly with that need. Fifth, the presence of olive trees and grapevines in the garden is not just about plants. They have deep meaning in the Bible. The olive is a symbol of peace and the presence of God, while the grapevine represents the covenant and spiritual sustenance. According to John 19 verse 41, it was simply mentioned that there was a garden. But now we see how the very plants in that place give a deeper meaning to the story of resurrection and hope. The sixth and perhaps the most surprising confirmation comes from Roman history. In 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian ordered the construction of a Roman temple on this very site to erase the Christian memory. But his action served as a time capsule because instead of destroying the site, it actually helped preserve the garden and the tomb until it was discovered in modern times. The attempt to destroy it became a way to further preserve the true memory of Christianity. If we put together these 6 pieces of evidence, confirmed location outside the city, John 19:20, tombs designed for the wealthy, Matthew 27:60, the carving of the tombs into the rock, Mark 15 verse 46, the accessibility for quick burial, Matthew 27 verses 57 to 60, Mark 15 verses 42 to 47, the presence of olive and grapevines, John 19, verse 41, and the preservation brought by Roman Emperor Hadrian in 135 AD provides almost irrefutable evidence. This is more than just simple archaeology. Here, faith and history clearly converge, and the evidence from the ground echoes the exact story written in the gospel. Why is this discovery far bigger than anyone realizes? At first glance, some might think this is just an ordinary archaeological find, like just another artifact from ancient times. But the truth is, its meaning is much deeper and greater. This isn't just a win for science or history. This is a huge confirmation of the truth of the Bible. Skeptics have long questioned the authenticity of the Bible. Many people say that the stories are just metaphors, legends, or exaggerated versions of what really happened. But now the evidence from beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre speaks clearly. This is not a whisper. It's a loud shout against doubt. Here is the clear truth. The garden is real. The rock-cut tombs are real. The crucifixion site is real. This is not just a symbol or an image of faith. It is embedded in the very ground. And now it has been revealed again. The details long read in the gospel are not just imaginary. The burial in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, the crucifixion outside the city, and the garden beside it, all of these have physical evidence that matches. And beyond that, there's a remarkable twist in history. In 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian deliberately tried to erase the Christian memory of this place by building a Roman temple. He thought the story would disappear, but what happened was he actually preserved it even more. It's like he sealed it underground for the next generation. It's an irony that the attempt to destroy Christianity became the very way to preserve one of its holiest places. So now, more than 2,000 years after the events, this site serves as a bridge between faith and history. It's no longer just a religious tradition. It's no longer speculation. It can now be seen, touched, and recorded by science. And this is where everything changes, because the evidence clearly supports the story of the gospel. From the garden to the tombs to the exact location of the crucifixion. It compels the world to ask again, is the Bible just a story? Or is it actual history that happened in a real place at a real time and with real people? Now, it's hard to ignore this evidence because, above all, it shows that the events written in the New Testament did not happen in a metaphorical universe, but right here in our own world. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is no longer just a symbol of faith. It is also a testament to history. It's proof that some stories long called legends or fables by some are actually rooted in the very soil of Jerusalem. This is more than just an archaeological milestone, it's a revolution in our perspective on history and faith. It's a reminder that there are truths that time can hide, but in the end, are still revealed through stone, earth, and science.